Chapter 10, Black Empiricism, Enlightenment as Organization of Polemical Knowledge. Quoting Friedrich Nietzsche, Die fröhliche Wissenschaft, perhaps truth is a woman who has reasons not to let her reasons be seen. Quoting Napoleon Bonaparte, a spy in the right place replaces 20,000 men at the front. Quoting Directive Number 185796 of the Soviet Intelligence Service, quoted from B. Newman's Spione gestern heute Morgen, Stuttgart 1952. Agents must be intellectuals. In the decisive moment, they must not shrink from making the ultimate sacrifice. Enlightenment? Good. Science? Research? Good, very good. But who enlightens about the enlightener? Who researches the research? Who undertakes science about science? By posing such questions, are we demanding more enlightenment, science, research, or less, or of another type? Is it an appeal to philosophy, to meta-science, to sound common sense, to morality? My plea is for a continuation of the phenomenological path. We ask, who is interested in what? Which forms of knowledge or sciences arise through these interests? Who wants to know what? Why? What motivates his or her curiosity? And even assuming that Homo sapiens has a natural hunger for experience, desire to experiment, and an excess of curiosity, the question still remains. Why precisely this curiosity? This wanting to know? If, in ideology critique, it is always asked, who is speaking, in order to reduce the words to the speaker's social position, then in the critique of enlightenment we ask, who is seeking? Who is researching? Who is struggling? Here a rather remarkable field of kinship relations emerges, a rare clan of curious persons, of trackers of knowledge and curiosities. From this perspective, the philosopher and the spy, the police officer and the journalist, the detective and the psychologist, the historian and the moralist present themselves as the children of the same, although quarrelling, family. All appear like the various lines in the spectrum of Enlightenment knowledge. Curiosity seeks the reasons for curiosity. It too seeks for enlightenment about enlightenment, and must therefore in turn let itself be interrogated as to the reasons for its own curiosity. Counter-enlightenment inclinations? Reaction? Discontent with an enlightenment? We want to know what the point is of this wanting to know. There is too much knowledge about which we could wish, for the most diverse reasons, that we had not discovered it, and had not gained enlightenment about it. All too many insights are fear-inducing. If knowledge is power, then today, what was once eerie, inscrutable power confronts us in the form of insights, transparency, obvious connections. If at one time enlightenment, in every sense of the word, lessened fear through the increase of knowledge, then today we have reached a point where enlightenment turns into what it undertook to hinder, the increase of fear. The uncanny that was supposed to be banned comes to the fore again out of the means used to protect against it. Enlightenment develops in the form of a collective training in mistrust of epochal proportions. Rationalism and mistrust are related impulses, both bound tightly to the social dynamic of the rising bourgeoisie in the modern state. In the struggle of hostile and competing subjects and states for self-preservation and hegemony, a new form of realism bursts forth, a form that is driven by the fear of becoming deceived or overpowered. Everything that appears to us could be a deceptive maneuver of an overpowering evil enemy. In his Proof Through Doubt, Descartes goes as far as the monstrous consideration, when perhaps the entire world of appearance is only the work of a genius malignus, calculated to deceive us. The emergence of the enlightening, insightful perspective on reality cannot be comprehended without a thorough cooling down of the ego-world relation, without a deep penetration of suspicion and fear about self-preservation to the very roots of the modern will to know. An overpowering concern with certainty, and an equally irresistible expectation to be deceived drive modern epistemology on to search at any price for absolute and unshakably secure sources of certainty, as if its primary concern were to overcome a downright world-annihilating doubt. Enlightenment possesses at its core a polemical realism that declares war on appearances. Only the naked truths, the naked facts, should be regarded as valid. For the deceptions that the enlightener expects are considered artful, but nevertheless transparent, exposable manoeuvres. Verum et fictum convertuntur. The deceptions are transparent because they are self-made. What is self-evident in this world is fraud, threats, dangers, not openness, generosity, security. Truth is thus never to be had straight off, but only through a second effort, and as the product of critique that destroys what seemed before to be the case. Truth is not discovered innocently and without struggle, but rather is won in a toilsome victory over its predecessors, which are its concealment and antipody. The world bursts at the seams with problems, dangers, deceptions, and abysses as soon as the gaze of mistrusting investigation penetrates it. In the universe of modern knowledge, the backdrop, trapdoors, panoramas, deceptive images, dissembling gestures, hidden feelings, concealed motives, enveloped bodies predominate. All of these phenomena make reality itself more inaccessible, precisely because, with increased complexity, it is composed of ambiguous, concocted and contrived acts and signs. This forces us all the more to separate the obvious from the concealed. I am deceived, therefore I am. And I unmask deceptions, I myself deceive. Therefore I preserve myself. The Cartesian cogito ergo sum can also be translated in this way. We follow roughly the sequence of Chapter 8, the Cardinal Cynicisms, in treating the essential manifestations and dimensions of enlightenment as polemical empiricism in 6 steps: war and espionage, police and enlightenment in class struggle, sexuality and hostility towards self, medicine and suspecting the body, death and metaphysics, and natural science and weapon technology. That this polemical phenomenology makes a circle from the knowledge of war to the natural science of weaponry is no accident. We are preparing here the transcendental polemic of Chapter 11. It describes how, behind a series of curiosities, compulsions to struggle are at work that guide epistemic interests. In this phenomenology, we go through the characteristic tapping in the dark movements of a full modernity that is still in search of itself, and that is learning to doubt the productivity of Cartesian doubt, and to mistrust the measurelessness of Enlightenment mistrust.